Hello, everyone. Jim here, the father of Fantasy for the Ages, with Zach, the son
That's
of the
me.
show, ready to come at you with another of our many talks, a book blast episode, which means in 5 minutes or less, Zach today is going to share some thoughts, spoiler free, on a series, not just one book, but a set of books, Riyria Revelations. If you enjoy this episode, remember to like it and subscribe and look for the ways you can interact with us down in the show notes, Discord, social media, and all that stuff. Zachary, why in the world did you read Riyria Revelations?
So I read this because one of our Patreon supporters, Emmeline, had recommended it. This
Hi,
was a
Emily.
very close set of books to her, and I found that I quite enjoyed it. It made some of my top 10 last year and finished off this year. It already has a pretty good place, probably. It is. It's also 6 books. Each of these 3 books is actually 2 books in one. They
Right,
have
they're
their
two
own
short books.
self-contained studies, their self-contained stories. There is a story that goes through all 6, and often each of the 2 do kind of fit a theme that then can work into the grander title of that actual novel of the trilogy.
So, can you tell us a little bit about Heft of Words?
So Theft of Swords um, is obviously about stealing swords, which is kind of true. Both stories have that and a lot more. There are 2 people that you really follow in this series that can make the crux of Riyria, this group, Hadrian Blackwater and Royce Melbourne. It's kind of their adventures through a tumultuous time in a world that is very much not our own, and both how they navigate this as the fantastic ragtag kind of thieves they are, but also the greater roles that they play in the conflict beyond that.
So, this is solidly fantasy.
Yes.
Is it grimdark?
I'd lean into no, not really. I mean, there are
Okay.
some elements that are a little bit harsher here and there, but it's more just it's clearly adult epic fantasy.
We will do an episode on to read or not to read, but this is just your reaction. So you
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I
There
did.
are more books that come after it, a
Well, kind of.
prequel, basically. Yeah, a
Exactly. They come
prequel
before it.
series. So Rhaenyra Chronicles. Do you plan to read those?
Maybe. I very much do enjoy the characters, and I know it involves some of those characters and some of the joy to that. But I also thought that these books did a really good job of establishing these characters and some of the stories that I think those prequel stories go into. So I
Hmm.
don't feel like think they're necessary. Give it another year or 2. I might go read those as a fun way to go back to these characters without reading something that I've already read. But as it stands, I'm not looking to dive into it immediately.
It really is the story of these two characters, though. But there's a cast around them.
Yes, and
Do you find
recurring.
that positive and rich, the other characters, or are they just kind of fluff?
Some of them are very positive, very rich, and sometimes I think are more interesting than these 2 characters. Not all of them. Some of them are fluff intentionally, but other times it's very cool and fun. And even sometimes there's a tertiary character that I sit here and go, okay, but do we ever get a sequel that talks about this person? Because we know what's going on with this person, but also we never established that that was real.
Interesting. When you read this series, do you find the plot predictable, or are there twists and turns that really caught you off guard and kept you guessing?
I'm going to say this to say it is not a predictable plot. Some of it, yeah, but that's pretty much all stories. If you're clever and pick up on the hints, you're going to learn some things. But there are a lot of things here that are twists meant to keep you off guard, and I think succeed in doing that. I have to admit, some of the biggest I stumbled upon like halfway through the second book and then went, oh, cool. But you don't actually find out till the end of the third. So that's on me and my way of reading sometimes. Oops.
Oh, you mean you used Google
I
and
mean, not
checked?
not really. I didn't check that. I was looking at something else and I happened to
Uh,
also see that and went, oops.
oh, that's too bad.
But instead, I got to enjoy some tongue in cheek knowledge that you wouldn't have otherwise.
All right. Well, there you go. So you enjoyed the series. You'd in general
Yes.
recommend it to people. And
Yes.
thanks for sharing your thoughts on it. Because Book Blast, that's all the time we got, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.